it's hard to be really interested in it because he has been terrible the last 2 years. It's been not even just bad, it's been terrible since he's been drafted 2 years ago, in the same draft as McCole Hardman, I believe. And McColl's been much better. So I'm not like chomping at the bit to trade for N'Keal Harry. Um, Now, if it was like a conditional sixth rounder, I would consider it. Um, but the Chiefs already don't have a pick, I believe, next year, a late round pick, but they still trade away a pick for Mike Hughes. So I you would go down to 5 picks. We know Veach doesn't trade down. So I think I would lean towards just roll with what you have, especially because he'd be coming in after OTAs. But if the price is like a 2022 conditional six or something of that sort, then I mean it wouldn't hurt. At least it's a bargain bin prices for a player who's not been great the last 2 years.
Yeah, 100%. And I wasn't sure what picks the Chiefs had, so I had to go look it up. First of all, Harry's contract, $2.75 million cap number in 2021, 3.21 next year, fifth year option of being a first round pick. The Chiefs probably almost surely wouldn't pick that up unless he was some spectacular player for them. Like keyword spectacular. He'd have to be really good in order for that to happen. But so the reported worth, I think it was like USA Today or someone reported out that he's worth a conditional six right now, and the Chiefs
Yeah.
have a 2022 sixth from the Orlando Brown trade. They have a seventh, their own
Oh,
seventh,
okay.
and the Vikings seventh, because I forgot the Mike Hughes trade was a swap rather than a we're just going to give up that pick. So if they really needed to, they could say, hey, here's a seventh that could be a conditional sixth or whatever. Let's get something done. Like I get it. Harry's 6'4", 225. He I hate to say it, he could X in terms of size. He could be the X in terms of size.
He
I
is
think he's
big
kind
enough
of
to be an X. Yes.
exactly. Yes, he's big
The
enough to
rest of
be an
it,
X.
mm,
Yeah, he's a physical specimen that's like caught between positions. Like he's not fast enough to be a wide receiver. He's not big enough and physical enough to be a tight end. He's a tough sell for me if I'm the Chiefs. But at a really cheap price, I think I would at least investigate it. Now the problem is with McCole Hardman getting a bigger role. Is Harry going to take snaps from Robinson? I don't think so. Is he going to take snaps from Pringle? Even if he does, is he going to prove in 10 to 15 to 20 targets a year that he's that guy? Like there's just no clear path to redemption for him. And I don't know if it's a system thing that maybe another team would be interested. I feel bad for N'Keal Harry. His college tape was interesting. I really liked him heading into the draft, but I undersold how big of a jump athletically that was going to be for him. And combined with the New England offense, it just hasn't been a fit.
yeah, and I think people forget that Sammy Watkins wasn't really big. He was like 6 foot, like 200. So the Chiefs don't need a big, like prototypical X wide receiver. They just needed somebody higher or taller than like 5'9", which is what Tyreek Hill and McCole Hardman are. To kind of, and also somebody to play more at the line of scrimmage and who could beat press. And it's more about those skills than the size per se. And N'Keal Harry doesn't really pass those checks. So I don't think he would be somebody who would even beat Demarcus Robinson, like you said, mentioned. I think even Cornell, I would rather see Cornell Powell on the field, honestly, than N'Keal Harry. I just don't think you've seen N'Keal Harry in the NFL the last 2 years. And unless you don't trust the New England coaching staff to teach wide receivers, which they haven't had a great track record, to be fair, but unless you think you can do a much better job, I just don't know if there's much upside there. Even giving up a late round pick for that try at that upside.
Yeah, it just I don't know. Are you familiar with the fifth year option for that draft class? Like, is there a formula for that? Because it's not like a franchise tag, is it?
It
Where you have to average the
is
whatever, whatever.
it is kind of like that for the
Okay.
three, or it's the 10 through 32. It's like the top average of the top 25 contracts at the position or something of that sort, off the top of my head. So yeah, it would be somewhere in the, I don't know what wide receiver would land at. It'd be somewhere near 9 million or so.
Yeah, so he would have to like absolutely like someone would have to get hurt or multiple people would.
Yeah.
Like he'd have to show out completely in the
And he
offense for
has
2 years. It'd be insane.
right. He would be here for 2 years before that even happened. But I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. Like New England would be on the hook for the signing bonus in his rookie deal
Mhm.
because rookie deals actually do have signing bonuses. So I think the Chiefs cap hits would be less than the ones you said, but even then, it's just I don't know if giving up the capital, the draft capital, is even worth it for him, just because of how poor his last 2 years have been.
Yeah, and I saw someone tweet, I forget who it was. I wish I could give them proper credit. I say that a lot on this podcast. I need to start writing down who tweeted what because I always forget. But they tweeted, he's not a fit for the fast, like route running, heavy, like precise. I forget. I think they called it quick precision offense or something like that.
Sure,
And Cheap's Twitter was like, oh, well, he could bring that element of I'm the complete opposite of what you need, and then he would actually be what the Chiefs need. I'm like, that's not how it works. Like, you don't bring players that clearly aren't scheme fits onto your team, and then they provide a new dynamic. Like, you fit into the system or you don't fit at all. And N'Keal Harry is a talented player who does well or would do well. I guess he hasn't really done a lot in his career so far. Um, Red zone target. Like, I mean, there just isn't a lot that he's good at right
right,
now, and he isn't developed. You can look at the guy and be like, he looks like a great athlete. He's not extremely slow, but there's a difference between top end speed and not being able to beat press. He's not as physical as he was in college. You can't just overpower people anymore. The return game for him isn't a threat anymore, so he can't double as a special teams guy. There just isn't a lot. And the Chiefs, I mean, low level of interest. If they did it, I'd be like, okay, whatever.